What city in America is the biggest football city?
Buffalo last 20 years has mostly been pathetic, and the weather's the worst in the league, and they still show up in mass.
Fans in certain areas live and die by what their hometown NFL team accomplishes on the gridiron. However, that's not the case across the country. So where does your city stand? Well, here are our rankings for every NFL city based on how big of a football city they really are. Number 30, Jacksonville. Quite frankly, Jacksonville's a pretty random place to have an NFL franchise. Jacksonville is a small market to begin with, but the franchise's lack of success over the past decade and a half hasn't really helped matters. Attendance is consistently near the very bottom, and it's quite common to see more away team supporters than Jags fans at TIAA Bank Field. Number 29, Las Vegas. Alright, let's be real, sports will never be the main attraction in Vegas. Casinos, entertainment, day clubs, nightlife, those are all the main draws in Vegas. The Raiders haven't struggled to attract fans in Sin City, but it's going to take some time for football fever to really take off there. Number 28, Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers were consistently near the very bottom in annual attendance before Tom Brady arrived. And given the success of the NHL's Lightning over the past decade, it feels like the Bolts are a bigger deal in Tampa than the Bucs. Once Tom Brady retires, citywide interest in the Bucs will likely drop just as fast as it took off. Number 27, Miami. Like the Jaguars and Bucs, the Dolphins constantly rank in the bottom third in NFL attendance. The NBA's Heat are by far the bigger deal in South Beach. All those deep playoff runs and championship titles will do that to you. The Fins have been a dysfunctional and irrelevant mess during Stephen Ross's ownership tenure, so it is no wonder that the city isn't buzzing about football as much these days. Number 26, Los Angeles. LA is Lakers and Dodgers town. The Clippers and Angels are a fairly big deal too, and the Kings increased their following during their 2012 and 2014 Stanley Cup runs. But football? Remember how nobody was really following the Rams in their first few seasons back in LA? The Chargers have also struggled to generate the citywide interest that they had in San Diego. LA is a mega sports city, one of the biggest in America, but it is definitely not a football city. Number 25, Nashville. Music City certainly loves its Tennessee Titans, don't get us wrong, but it's a relatively small market compared to most other NFL cities. Plus, you know, the whole country music scene is a much bigger deal there than football. The NHL's Predators have certainly enjoyed a giant surge in popularity. It's not crazy to think that hockey could eventually take over football as the sport of choice in Nashville. Number 24, Indianapolis. Indianapolis came to embrace the Colts as their very own following their relocation from Baltimore. It's one of two pro sports teams in Indiana, the other being the NBA's Pacers. But basketball feels like a much bigger deal in Indy, and not just because of the Pacers. The Indiana Hoosiers, Butler Bulldogs, and Purdue Boilermakers are three very prominent college basketball programs that are going to be tough to compete with in that region. Number 23, Houston. Houston is among the top 5 most populated cities in the country, and it's home to the NFL's youngest team. The Texans joined the league as an expansion franchise in 2002, so they're a little late to the party, if you will. No doubt that Houston loves its Texans, through the good and the bad. But it's hard to place them any higher considering how the other cities have had their football teams for just so much longer. Number 22, Washington. If this list was written in the 80s or 90s, Washington would be in the top 5 or 10 range. Too bad Dan Snyder ruined all the fun. Commanders fans have rightfully gotten fed up with Snyder and the never-ending controversies under his watch. It is no wonder that attendance and ticket sales continue to decline. No matter how much you love Washington, it is just hard to justify giving Snyder a cent of your hard-earned money. Number 21, Cincinnati. Yes, they have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And yes, they're coming off an unexpected run to Super Bowl 56. But the Bengals have been a very sad, dysfunctional franchise for the most part over the last 3 decades. Attendance was notably on the decline during the final years of the Andy Dalton, Marvin Lewis era, as owner Mike Brown seemed to condone losing for whatever reason. Given their historical significance, it feels like Cincinnati will always be a baseball-first town, even if the Reds are downright terrible. Number 20, San Francisco/Bay Area. The Golden State Warriors dynasty has made them the golden franchise of the Bay Area. There were plenty of empty seats at Levi's Stadium throughout the second half of the previous decade. Thankfully for the frustrated 49ers fans, they always had the Warriors, San Jose Sharks, and Oakland Athletics to fall back on when the 49ers hit rock bottom during those post-Jim Harbaugh years. Number 19, Baltimore. Okay, we're at the point of the list where we're starting to split hairs, as all of these football cities going forward tend to receive a tremendous amount of support from their hometown fans. And that is certainly the case in Baltimore, where the Ravens have been a huge deal since relocating from Cleveland in 1996. And of course, the city also had its beloved Colts from 1953 to 83. But again, Baltimore comes in lower here because it's a smaller market. It's also an old city renowned more for its museums and historic sites rather than its football. Number 18, Minneapolis. Minneapolis loves its Vikings, alright, but there is significant competition with the NHL's Wild and MLB's Twins. Minneapolis isn't a consensus football town. It really depends on which fans in Minnie you're talking to. There's a reason they call it the state of hockey, after all. Number 17, Kansas City. Arrowhead Stadium is one of the most electrifying and boisterous avenues in America. KC absolutely loves its Chiefs. The Chiefs do, however, have some competition from the Royals. Plus, the St. Louis Cardinals and Blues are also a pretty big deal in KC. Number 16, Cleveland. Yeah, I gotta love the loyalty of the Browns fans. No American pro sports fan base has had it harder in the last half century than this group. Alas, constant losing naturally has taken away some of the passion for football here. LeBron James made Cleveland a basketball city during his 2 runs with the Cavaliers. And when Cleveland lost its beloved Browns to Baltimore, the city rallied behind the MLB franchise during its glory years in the 90s. Given the success of the Cavs and Guardians during the Browns' struggles, it's hard to label Cleveland as a football-first city these days. Number 15, Denver. Denver has competition with the NHL's Avalanche, NBA's Nuggets, and MLB's Rockies. The Avalanche and Nuggets especially have enjoyed some pretty deep playoff runs over the last quarter century or so. So, is Denver a football-first city? Well, it depends on which Colorado sports fan you ask. Russell Wilson's arrival should really turn things up in Denver this year. Number 14, Foxboro/Boston. Don't get us wrong, the Patriots are just as loved in their home region as any other NFL franchise. But Beantown has always lived and breathed baseball and basketball first. The Red Sox and Celtics are among the premier, most historic American sports franchises out there. Boston has always supported these clubs through thick and thin. The Patriots? Well, don't forget that Robert Kraft had to save the franchise from being relocated to Hartford in the 90s. Football fever only really took off during the Brady-Belichick era. Number 13, Charlotte. The North and South Carolina states love college football more than just about any other in the country. But here, we're focusing strictly on the city of Charlotte, where the Panthers are based. They love their basketball too, no doubt, but football will always be king in Carolina. Number 12, New York. With too many sports teams in the Manhattan area, it's hard for the Giants and Jets to really stand out. The Yankees are the biggest deal in the city, and the Mets, Knicks, and Rangers aren't far behind. Like LA and Vegas, sports isn't New York's biggest thing. Entertainment, history, arts, and tourism are what this city is all about. Not to mention the Giants and Jets play in New Jersey. Number 11, Glendale/Phoenix. Now we're entering the prominent football cities. The Diamondbacks and Coyotes, quite frankly, have nothing on the Cardinals. The Suns are a big deal in the desert, especially when they're winning, but through the good and the bad, the Cardinal faithful stays by the side of their football team. And, just us, there has been far more bad than good. Number 10, Chicago. The Windy City has the Bears, Blackhawks, Bulls, White Sox, and Cubs. But over the past century, Chicago has been a football-first city. Such is life when you have a franchise that's over 100 years old. Sure, things haven't really been great since their 1985 Super Bowl season, but these Bears fans are as loyal and as passionate as any fan base in the NFL. Number 9, Atlanta. The Braves MLB team has been a consistent winner since the early 90s, but they are nowhere close to matching the Falcons in popularity. Atlanta is obsessed with football, and not just the Falcons. Their very own Georgia Bulldogs are coming off a historic year that saw them capture the 2021 National Championship over Alabama. You will not find many locations in the U.S. that crave and live football as much as the folks in Atlanta. Number 8. New Orleans. Take a trip to New Orleans and you will see Saints merchandise everywhere. The Saints and the LSU Tigers are the teams in the Big Easy. NOLA may be known for its mouth-watering food and 24/7 party life, but football is equally as big for the residents of the city. Number 7. Detroit. The Lions have been rebuilding since 1957, but their constant losing hasn't done much to damper the Motor City's obsession with its football team. Yeah, the Red Wings and Pistons had their championship runs, and the Tigers enjoyed a trip to the World Series in 2006 and 2012. The Michigan Wolverines and Michigan State Spartans are just as loved in Michigan as the Lions. Even if the Lions rebuild for the next 100 years, they'll still attract fans. That's just the way it is in D-Town, at least when it comes to football. Number 6. Seattle. The Supersonics are long gone, the Kraken only entered the NHL in 2021, and the Mariners have been a sad franchise for 20+ years. Football reigns supreme in Emerald City. The Seahawks have the NFL's loudest crowd. Lumen Field was always rockin' even before the Russell Wilson era. Number 5. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is also a tiny market with a very small population compared to other major cities in the US, but no matter. Steel City may as well be renamed Steelers City. Sidney Crosby's Penguins rejuvenated Steel City's love for hockey, but even the Pens know that they're playing second fiddle to the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Number 4. Philadelphia. Love or hate him, you can't deny the fiery passion of Philly fans. Who else would boo Santa Claus or chant for a beloved coach like Andy Reid to be fired? You can despise Eagle fans all you want, but for better or for worse, their antics stem from extremely deep football passion. Number 3. Buffalo. Bills Mafia, baby. What else do you need to hear? How many other fan bases get themselves fired up by going through tables on game day? The Bills fans would always bring the noise and energy, even during their worst years, making it feel like a playoff atmosphere regardless of where their team was in the standings. Number 2. Dallas. You can't be called America's team without placing this high on the list. Half the reason everyone hates the Cowboys is because of their fans. So what if many of them are arrogant, obnoxious, and obsessed with bringing up the past? They're the golden franchise for the NFL as far as TV ratings and marketing go. Number 1. Green Bay. It's amazing that a city with a population of just over 100,000 can carry so much historical significance and popularity. It's the only Big Four sports team that's community-owned. Need we say more? The Packers play in the unofficial football capital of the USA. But which do you think is the biggest football city in America? Join us in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.